What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, Joy Speaks, a channel that I created to have thought-provoking conversations around the recovery community. And when I say recovery community, I'm referring to those who are struggling with substance abuse or alcohol issues, or those who know people who are struggling. Because as we know, it's not just the addict or the alcoholic who's affected by this affliction, but it's also the people that are surrounding them. Today is a story time, and I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I'm nervous because I'm about to get raw. I'm about to get honest. I'm about to share my experience about or around how I became a college dropout and how my active addiction, right, and as a direct result of my active addiction, completely ruined my first college career, right? So grab your popcorn, grab your soda, grab some candy, right? And make yourself at home, get comfortable, because this is about to get juicy. All right. So we're going to rewind, right? We're going to rewind all the way back to the year 2006. That's right. I had just graduated from high school. I had just auditioned for a liberal arts college in New York City, pursuing theater, which has always been a passion of mine. I ended up getting into the school in New York, and I also got some scholarship money based on my audition. And so just to kind of paint the picture, my life was in an upward trajectory. I was set to move to New York and study theater and go on to Broadway and become a star. However, that didn't quite happen. But let me also say this, right? Since then, I have, done major work in recovery. I have over 3.5 years clean and sober. I did go back to school and get my associate's degree in theater. So things aren't as bad as they were, but things got really, really bad, really, really fast. And so before I got to New York, I had already been kind of exploring the club scene out here in Los Angeles. And at that time, there was a popular substance that I don't think I can say, so I'm going to describe it as a happy pill. Yeah, that made you feel ecstatic. I think I can say that. So that was what was popular in 2006 in LA, and the side effects of that substance are euphoria, and I would go as far as to say extreme euphoria. You become sensitive to sound, you become sensitive to touch, and you literally feel like love is coursing through your veins. And I'm not saying this to glorify. I'm saying that because I want you guys to have an understanding around what someone who is newly exploring that substance feels like. You just feel good. You want to touch people. You want to massage yourself. You want to listen to good music. You want to have heart to hearts and pour your heart out to people, and just you want to experience this deep, profound connection with anything and everything. But all of that is an illusion. All of that is fake. All of that is exaggerated, right, by the substance in our brain and this release of dopamine into our system. So it's all a fantasy. It's all a fantasy. However, I had already dibbled and dabbled in that fantasy substance before I even had gotten to New York. And so once I got to New York, it did not take me long to get my hands on more of that fantasy substance. And so when I got to New York, I had I moved into my dorm. I had my dorm set up. My mom and my sister, they came and helped me get situated in my dorm. And there was this big, huge, dramatic goodbye between me and my mom and my sister. And now that I think back, because at the time I just couldn't understand why my mom was so sad. And I can say today that she probably had some sense of intuition around leaving her boy in New York City. But at the time, it was just like, of course, all moms are going to stress. All moms are going to worry, like, duh. But maybe she knew something that I didn't know. But she let me go. She let me go. She helped me set up shop. She allowed me the freedom and the independence to spread my wings. I just didn't know that my wings were broken, right? So yeah, so like I said, we had gotten to New York. We set up shop in my student housing, and she had left. And so I had a couple days before the actual first day of school. And those 2 days before school started, I had already gotten my hands on more of that fantasy substance. And I the typical person would probably take like a half of one of these fantasy substances. However, I would take 2 and 3 and 4 at a time. And some people would, pop them and then chase it down with like water. I wouldn't even use water. I would just chew it up and ingest it like that. So that already is like a very huge red flag that, this isn't normal. But it was also because once I was under the influence, I was no longer connected to any of my insecurities as a person. I was no longer shy. I was no longer inadequate. I was no longer small. I could then, and that's why I'm calling it a fantasy substance, because I could literally fantasize and become whoever I wanted to be while I was under the influence. But at the same time, it was fake, right? It was not real. But if I took enough of it, right, it felt real. And so 2 days before school started, I'm ingesting the fantasy substance, and I'm rocking out, and I'm listening to music, and I'm in New York City, and I'm looking out. I'm on like the 30 something floor of the dorms, and it was like I had the world at my fingertips, but I didn't want to let go of the fantasy drug or the fantasy substance. And so the day before the first day of school, I had full awareness, right? Okay, I got to stop because I got to go to class tomorrow, and tomorrow's going to be the first day. And now it's time to get serious. Now's the time to chase my career. Now's the time to buckle up because my life was about to take off. However, once you do some work around what addiction is, you understand that someone who is an addict or an alcoholic is in essence powerless over their desire to want to pick up. So what that meant is that, yes, I knew that I needed to stop because I had to start college, but I couldn't stop. I had access to more, and so I did more. And then I told myself, well, maybe I'll just do some tonight, and then I'll save a little bit so that I can take some at the first day of school, right? And then that way it'll like get me through class, right? But the reality was that although I had planned to take some of that fantasy substance on the first day of class, I didn't even make it to the first day because I was too gone. And I remember that first day, and I remember looking out of the window, and it was snowing, and I'm from LA. I don't know the snow, right? So what that did at the time was then it just rationalized, I'm not going out in that snowstorm to go to no school. I'm going to continue to have my little party in my college dorm. And so that's what I did. And then I realized, the first day of class had come and gone. And so here's once again, right, this affliction in my mind, right? Because I know that All right. First day of class in most cases, it's like an introductory class, right? Where we like go over the syllabus and like make introductions, and you're not getting deep into the content and into the work in the first day of class. So I told myself, cool, I can miss the first day of class, right? Because then I can just make sure I'm there the next day. But I couldn't stop the party. I was completely powerless. And so the first day of class, I didn't go because I was too busy taking that fantasy substance. The second day, same deal. The third day, same deal. And then I got caught in this cycle of like, sleep it off, right? Come to and realize I've missed 2 days of my beginning of my college career. Here's the feelings of shame. Here's the feelings of fear. Here's the feelings of anger. Here's this overwhelming sense of disappointment. I don't like to feel my feelings. Let me go ahead and find some more of that fantasy substance again. Because anytime I was able to get a little bit of distance between me and that fantasy substance, and I got a little bit of clarity, I realized that my life was completely crumbling, but I didn't have the tools at the time to try to put it back together, right? And so what started off as missing the first couple days, bled into I missed the first few weeks of class. Just because every time I would kind of sober up, the feelings of shame and disappointment, and honestly at the time confusion, because I just couldn't understand how I could start off my college career as a failure. I knew that I had talent, and I knew that I had opportunity, and I knew I had a gift to share with the world, and I also knew how hard I had worked to get all the way to New York. But I had some demons that I had to live with. And so I did end up making it to class. Weeks later. But I mean, come on, using common sense, you're missing all this class. There's no way that I could have caught up and, made up for all the lost time. Right. So eventually I just gave up. On going to class. And the people at school, they knew me. Well, they knew of me. They knew I was the kid that was like really nice, but also the kid that knew where all the spots to go to party were, right? Like I came to New York, wheels running, like ready, making connections, all in this like kind of underground, party scene, right? So I knew where all the clubs were. I knew where all the after hours were. I couldn't tell you where my classes were, right? I couldn't tell you about any of the things I was supposed to be learning. But what I did kind of learn to master was how to survive as a drug addict in New York City, right? And so I forfeited, my college career because I could not put down that fantasy substance. I didn't have the tools to talk about the shame and the disappointment and the regret and the guilt. And even if I had access to resources, I don't even think at that time I would have been willing to do the work, because I just figured, I'm young, I can fix it. But little did I know, that was the beginning of a long journey with active addiction. And that was just, the beginning of the unmanageability. To be able to sustain a life after failing out of school in New York City and not having a home to come back to, that led to a lot more darkness, a lot more demoralizing, incomprehensible behavior that I ain't about to talk about on this video, right? But that's my experience, kind of in a nutshell. My experience with, the powerlessness of being an addict, and, this kind of crumbling of my life that happened, in 2006, and, just the sheer kind of selfishness that I was living in, at the time, because all I wanted to do was feel good. and I forgot about all the commitments, all the promises that I had made to my family. And so I'm sharing this story to share some hope, because like I said in the beginning of the video, yeah, I dropped out of college, but I also was able to go back, and I also was able to put my life together. But my life had to completely fall apart before I could rebuild it again. And me dropping out of college was literally the beginning part of my life falling apart. That was the beginning phase of the end, right? And that was the beginning of almost 15 years of, unmanageability and insanity. But I'm grateful for the experience, because at least today I know that my time as, a college dropout, or my experience as a college dropout, could perhaps help someone else who maybe is just moving out of their house for the first time and is moving to a faraway city, and is feeling insecure and is feeling lost and doesn't feel comfortable in their skin. Give yourself an opportunity before you start to pick up substances to mask your feelings and, numb your feelings away. Perhaps give yourself an opportunity to talk to someone, right? Give yourself an opportunity to heal. And it's been my experience that it's better to heal sooner than later. But it's never too late. It is absolutely never too late. So yeah, I hope you guys are inspired by this. I hope that I provided some motivation. I'm going to ask a big favor. We are on the road, the quest to 500 subscribers. So please, 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 right? I'm out here on these YouTube streets bearing my soul. Hit the subscribe button, please. It costs you absolutely nothing. Hit the subscribe button, hit like, hit share. I want to see us get to 500 subscribers, and I really want this channel to grow, but I need your help to do that. So thank you for listening. Please give me some feedback, you guys. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you've had similar experiences with dropping out of school or with active addiction or whatever. Anything related to Joy Speaks to my channel. I am excited and anticipating engaging with you guys. Thanks for listening. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.